Hey y'all, Moses here. PUBG is one of the most prohibitively difficult games to get into as a new player, and since PUBG is on sale, there are a lot of new players coming into the game. This video is for you. If you're new to the game, or even if you're trying to brush up on some old bad habits, this is a video designed for the player coming in without really telling you how to play specifically. You can play PUBG however you want, but I want to give you the tools to help make you a better player faster. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go over some tips, some tricks, some strategies, maybe some of which you've heard before in my own content or others, but this is going to be as boiled down, as simple as I can make it. So let's jump in and let's get started. The Antlion Mod Mic Wireless is a fully wireless 2-mode microphone with best-in-class audio quality and latency. The 12-hour battery means you can use this thing all day long. It attaches to any headphone you want, and it has absolutely top-level sound. I have to say, this thing is probably one of the best microphones I've ever used. This very ad was recorded with the Mod Mic Wireless, so this is the type of sound you can expect to get out of one of the best accessories I've ever seen. Check out the link down in the description below. Get yourself one of these things right now. All right, first things first, let's get you set up with your settings. This is just going to be a brief overview of my settings. I'll give you an idea as to why I have them set the way they are, and we'll move on from there. These are my settings. I'm not going to explain too much as to why I have them the way they are, but let's just say in my experience, this is the best for visibility as well as performance. Now, the only variable here is textures. I have mine on Ultra because I want my character model and guns to look sweet. You can lower this depending on your PC, but just take a look at this, and you can copy these. By the way, for view distance, you're going to render players and foliage no matter what this is set to. This is more so for like the really far away stuff, but for the most part, within the operating range that you'll find yourself in, I leave this on Ultra so I can see vehicles a little bit further away when I'm dropping, if you want to drop for vehicles. VSync is off, sharpen is on. Other than that, just take a look at these settings, copy them if you want, and tinker with them and find your best way, but this is a good starting point. All right, let's talk about controls. In this situation here, I don't think that there's too much you can really learn other than if you want to have a little bit better recoil control from a vertical standpoint, you might want to mess with your vertical sensitivity multiplier. Don't go too high because that'll really mess with your flicks or your just general aiming. Mine's just 10% above the baseline. So this is just a little bit of a boost in controlling my vertical recoil. I play with 400 DPI, and this would basically mean if you copy my settings, you're going to have fairly low sensitivity. So if you want to get to this level, you're probably going to have to work your way towards it. Or if you're already playing on low sense, you can just copy this if you want. I have universal sensitivity for all my scopes, but you can also independently set your scope sensitivity if you like. I like consistency just for muscle memory, so I leave these two things the same. Other than that, you can kind of choose your personal preference here, but for the most part, I have hold to ADS enabled. If you think that, or if you want to play with the COD style aiming, this is the way you set it. So you set aim to toggle, ADS to hold, and then you can set your independent key bindings, which is the next section regardless. So let's jump right into that. All right, so here are my key bindings. I'm going to try and keep this relatively high level, not to go too minute on the detail here. One big tip. Set a vault only button. Mine is V, and jump is still going to be spacebar. Keeping these two things independent will make sure that you don't accidentally vault over stuff and get yourself killed when you're fighting people. So I suggest V or finding another key that works for you. And vaulting is just jumping over the walls and climbing onto stuff. A side note with ledge grabbing, you're going to need to press this vault only button when you're trying to ledge grab, or else you'll just bounce off the side of stuff. Setting your ADS key, if you're going with the hold option, set that to right click. Canted sights for me is Alt and right click. And now the only other thing I'll tell you to do is to independently bind your grenades. So you'll see that my throwables button is unbound here, because the reason behind that is I have my frag grenade set to 5, my stun grenade set to G, smoke grenade is actually mouse 5, and then shift G for Molotov. This is going to make sure that you don't accidentally throw frag grenades instead of smokes, flashbangs, etc. This is going to make sure that you always throw the grenade you intend. And it's also really nice for quick smokes. That's why I have the smoke key bound at the ready, and I can use it whenever I want, because that means you're going to be able to cover your down teammates or yourself if you get into trouble. But we'll get more into that stuff in a little bit. Oh, here's one for you. make sure that you bind your med usage specifically. Now, you can copy my binds if you like, but first aid kit is F1, F2, F3, F4 for the boost items. And then I don't have anything set for adrenaline syringe because I typically tab and then right click that item when I need it. So yeah, having this and getting used to this early as a player will make you much faster in engagements. I still to this day don't use these as much as I should. So if you are getting into the game fresh, set and use your independent item binds like grenades and your med items. So a little tip if you like, set your quick marker to the same as your shoot button. That way you'll always put a quick marker when you're shooting at an enemy. So when you're playing duos, you will automatically mark where you're looking for your teammates when you start shooting at an enemy. This is just a little quality of life improvement that a lot of people have found useful, and I think you might as well. Other than that, not too much in here. You can, this as well. Set your default firing mode to a full auto for ARs and SMGs. That'll prevent you from getting into that single fire issue. If you're in a fast fight scenario in the beginning of the game, you want to pick up your AR, reload it, full auto spray. That's what you want. All right, so now that we're out of the settings and getting ready for the game, here is the most important tool you will have in your entire PUBG career. This is something I use every single day, and that's the training mode. This is by far the best tool to get used to the game. Before this came out, people were just forced to jump into the game and get trashed over and over again. Now you have the ability to join in and find a game that has no consequences. You can test the vehicles, you can test the gun mechanics, everything, grenades, meds, literally everything you can test on this. Now, this isn't going to teach you much, but I want to show you my little training regimen that gets me warmed up for my games every single day. So let's jump in and I'll show you. All right, so this is the training mode. Now, I'm going to give you my quick tips to make this as good of an experience as possible. This is a very loud environment. Once everyone gets going and driving and shooting, it's going to be oppressively annoying to listen to. So hit that Control-M keybind and mute your game sound. Put on whatever music you like. And if you want, you can change your view model to first person if you're a first person player, or if you're a third person player. Quick note on third person versus first person. Play what you like. Don't let anyone guilt you into playing something you don't like. And don't listen to all the people telling you that one mode is better than the other. Just play whatever you like. I prefer first person. It seems like a more fair game mode, and it's just my preferred style. But let's focus on what you're going to be doing in here. So select whatever gun you want. I would suggest if you're a brand new player, you start to focus on the basic ARs. Just use them all. Grab the M16, the M416, the AK, the SCAR. These are going to be your bread and butter guns as you play the game. This weapon right here, the M416, is the best AR in the game, and it has been that way for a very, very long time. Learn this gun and make it your absolute best friend. The quick reasons as to why it's the best is it's really easy to handle. It has a very fast fire rate, and it does take a lot of attachments, but it is very versatile and is very, very friendly to use. I use this gun every single day, and most people consider it the best gun in the game, basically since the game came out. The other option you can choose if you want to practice your recoil control is the AK. This is like the tried and true old style gun in the game. It's always been pretty good, but has never been the best. And the reason behind that is that the recoil and the fire rate are a little bit subpar. Now, the recoil isn't that bad, but really the fire rate is where you lose out. Because PUBG is set up in a, let's say, interesting configuration with only one server for North America, that means that you're going to be trying to fight against things like desync and lag. Terms you might have heard, they've really improved on those two issues over the last couple of months in PUBG, but they still do exist. So you want to prioritize fire rate. But for me, there's no better way to get warmed up and to get used to recoil control than using the AK. So what I like to do is I get my kit, my compensator, my extended mag, and my red dot. You can use the hollow if you like. Quick tip here as well, if you're ADSing, hit the T button. You can change how your sight looks. I like this sight personally. The little red dot is good for picking off headshots. And that's just something that you can get used to, but you can use the standard red dot just as well. So once you get situated with your gun, I would recommend also picking up a backpack and a lot of ammo. Is you basically just stand around in the shooting range and shoot the people walking around, because these are the best training dummies you can have. These players are moving around, they're jumping around, they're doing different things. That'll get you used to tracking enemies in a real scenario. So what I like to do is, again, stand in the center of the shooting range where everyone's getting their ammo and messing around, and I like to just pick targets and shoot at them. Now, the best way to control your recoil is just to practice. Just find a target, start shooting at them, hold your sprays as long as you can, accurately keep it on target. Now, with the AK, that might be 5 shots, it might be 10 shots, it might be 15 shots if you're really good, but just flick around, practice on targets that are moving, hit the crouch in there. Crouching will always make your recoil control easier, and you'll see that I'm leaning a lot. This is a habit that I've picked up. It's not necessary, but if you lean, it kind of makes your body awkward to shoot at. You know, your head is not straight up on your hips, so if recoil is going up your body, it's not going to naturally go to your head. They're going to have to lead it there, and you can see a lot of people do this. Leaning is going to be an important part of your gameplay, but you can add that little thing into your repertoire if you like. But go slowly. So yeah, here we go. Just shooting at targets, picking them as they appear, reacquiring targets. You know, I'm an advanced level player, so it's not. It might look easy, but this is not easy for a lot of players. Just being able to control recoil, switch to targets in different areas of the map, even turning all the way around and seeing targets behind you. The one rule I like to practice with in the training range is that there are no helmets allowed. So if you see a guy wearing that helmet, just make sure to pop it off his head because he's not following the rules. So this is one of the best ways to warm up in the game. It's a great way to practice, get very used to this mode, and really exploit it because it's going to make you a much better player much faster than just playing regular games. So let's jump into an Erangel game, and I'm going to tell you about how to pick your loot spots. Now, picking loot spots is not all about, you know, the best places to drop. It's more about what kind of pace of game do you want to play. Do you want to start dropping in really hot, getting used to looting quickly, all that type of stuff? If you want to do that, then of course you can drop at places like school, the military base, any major city like Severny, Izarki. What you can basically assume is that if you jump out early in the plane path, you're going to get action. So in this particular plane path, the small mill to power plant would be where I want to go because I like this spot. It's fun to fight in. It has decent loot. So I'm going to get a couple of kills here, and then I'll be able to move on to Milta, get myself a vehicle, and find elsewhere to go. So when you're picking a loot spot, don't worry about where all the hottest spots are because hot dropping is an advice or a piece of advice that a lot of people used to give out saying if you want to learn the game, drop school. A lot of people still say that. I think it's actually bad advice. You are not going to learn anything by jumping in and getting dummied at school over and over and over again. I would suggest jumping into a small part. There's lots of places to go on Erangel. There is no harm in jumping into a quieter part of the map, but the only thing that you're going to have to worry about is what kind of gear are you going to be leaving this place with. Obviously, if you land in Pachinki and fight your way out of that, if you're taking loot off of players and because there's a lot more buildings involved, your loot will typically be better than if you jump in a spot that only has one compound that you have to run from place to place. So that's kind of my drop philosophy. This applies to all the maps in different ways. I'm not going to go through every single map because I'm trying to keep this thing nice and tight, but just pick a spot, jump down, figure out the map. Map knowledge is a huge part of this game. So let's jump in. I'm not even wearing my headphones. Let's jump into small mill to power and see how things go. All right, so we're in the plane, and we are going to jump into small mill to power. So you see the big mill to power plant, and then you got the smaller one right there. So as soon as that thing goes green, I'm out of the plane. Now here's my drop strategy as far as actually parachuting. There's no sense in really doing the wave that you might have heard about in the past. Just kind of glide as quickly as you can to where you want to drop. And when you get relatively close, and just mind how I time this, you're going to hit shift and go straight down. And that's going to try and hit that maximum velocity. And then you're going to open your parachute and down you go. So you can aim your parachute, and the new parachute system is quite nice. But I'm aiming for that entryway at the bottom. And I'm going to see how close I can get. Now, again, I'm playing with my sound off. I've got no headphones on, but I want to show you a very important little loot trick here, which is to F over anything you can get immediately, but you want to try and get a weapon first, obviously. So here's an M16. I'm going to right-click, drag my gun, quickly reload, and acquire my first target. Just like that. So the important trick there is the right-click drag. I'll show you again. Right-click your gun, drag the ammo. That is going to mean that you are doing two actions essentially at once, and that's going to allow you to get your gun nice and fast and start engaging targets. Almost got that guy dead. We're going to move over. We want to pressure him because he's already damaged and he knows that. We're going to switch over to burst mode, get right up on top of him, and just like that, take him out. So if you can get that gun fastest, if you can get the armor and everything the fastest, that means you're going to have a much bigger advantage in the early game. So when I prioritize looting in the early game, I'm thinking about the absolute basics: helmet, vest, gun. Backpacks and attachments come after. Always prioritize killing the targets nearby, because that's the only thing that's going to prevent you from getting that loot that you're running over. So I just wanted to show you that very important right-click drag. I'll do it one more time for you just to show you how easy it is. You find your gun, right-click, drag the ammo, just like that. Very, very easy. Get your gun loaded up, ready to go. So that's my quick guide to dropping in PUBG, and this is effective anywhere you go at all stages of the game. Learn that right-click drag and be very fast picking those guns up. And a quick aside for those of you wondering, I tab loot everything because if you're trying to hit F on the ground, it's good if you're just like grabbing things and passing as you're running past them. But if there's multiple stuff, tabbing and dragging will always be faster. So just keep that in mind when you're looting, is to learn that tab looting strategy. Make sure that you're right-clicking stuff. And it's the same thing with players' boxes as well. Right-click the stuff out of their boxes and then drag the guns over. It's not any faster to right-click stuff off the ground, but it is much faster to right-click out of inventory. So that's my basic looting guide, and then that's it. So now that I'm alive, I'm just going to quit out and give someone a free kill. All right, now it's time to talk about map strategy. This is something that I find to be kind of a problem for some new players. That's kind of figuring out how to judge or how to determine where players will be coming from and how to move around the map in your learning period of this game. So we're in the plane. We have a fairly standard plane path. I don't want to jump too hot. I don't want to have anyone bothering me while I teach you guys a couple of things. So we're going to land in one of those spots I pointed out a little bit earlier. We are going to drop off the plane path just around the Gatka Field area. We might have a couple of friends here, but maybe we'll jump even further away if we absolutely have to. Now, you can long jump using the parachute to get further away from the plane path if you really want to ensure a safe drop. But for the most part, if you kind of land in these smaller compound areas, maybe you'll have one or two people follow you around, which is a lot easier to deal with than if you land at Pubg or the military base or somewhere else like that, where you might have multiple people landing near you. So I've chosen this little spot. We'll get our parachute open and we'll get to the ground. All right, so we're still in the loot phase, but the first circle has revealed itself. Now I'm going to give you the basics of this strategy because I don't really have the time to play this entire game, but you can already see that I'm outside the first play zone. So this big white circle, the first play zone. The centering strategy is to get your loot and get a vehicle. And then you're going to drive straight to the center of the map and find the best centermost compound. Now, compounds being groups of buildings or even a single building. A compound is basically any hardcover building form in the zone. Now, what you want to do is get your loot phase done as quickly as possible. So going back to what I said before, is if you're looting in a smaller area, you're not going to have as good a loot. But if you land in a larger area, you might find yourself with decent loot. Now, I haven't even found a vest or a backpack or anything yet. But I'm going to get looted as quickly as I can. And then I'm going to jump in a vehicle and head to the center. That is the centering strategy. Now, looking at the way the map has set itself up, most of the important parts of Pachinki, of Erangel are still in the map, like Razak, Pachinki, Yasnaya. These are very popular loot spots. But if I'm, say, looting in prison, I'm going to have to assume that in the first couple of zones, people will be coming from places like Small Mill to Power, Main Mill to Power, and even potentially the military base coming up from here. That is map pressure. That means that players will be applying pressure to the play zone from the area in which they're traveling. Same with Lipovka, Severny, all around the map. So this will continue as the game progresses. The circle will continue to get smaller and more of these larger areas will come out of the zone. Because a lot of players like to spend a lot of time in these areas without moving because it's safe. You don't want to have to leave Pachinki if you're just holed up in a house somewhere. You don't really have to move. So until Pachinki comes out, you can just sit still. But once it does come out, that means that map pressure will be applied to the outside of Pachinki where the circle has shrank. So if it goes north, there will be pressure coming out of the north side of Pachinki. If it goes south, etc. You get the idea. But for the most part, that is the map pressure and strategy that you should try and focus on. Keep trying to get that centermost compound every single time the circle closes. Now, it's going to get harder because players will have the same idea. It is like playing poker. You're playing the odds that the circle will land on you if you're in the center. Just draw a bunch of circles. Where do they overlap? Typically in the middle. That's why you want to find yourself nice cover in the middle of the zone. That'll give you the highest chance to win games and survive longer but as the game progresses, you're going to need to defend those compounds or even attack to gain entry. So that's going to be a strategy you're going to have to work on, but that's the best way to win more games. So that's it for the in-game portion, and let's wrap things up with the closing thoughts. Okay, that is a lot to digest. I tried to keep this video short, but we're already at the 20-minute mark, so apologies for going as long as I did. But even some of this stuff can be expanded on, and I've done it in the past, so you can scroll through my videos and see if there's any topics that jump out at you, where I have a lot of my guides in a playlist, so just pick through and see if there's anything you can learn from there as well, even if the content's a little bit older. If you want to learn from me while I play live, you can also check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/wtfmoses. You can follow me on Twitter, where I talk about the game a lot, at twitter.com/wtfmoses. And you can watch me cast the NPL. Currently, we're in the off season, but Phase 3 starts in September. I cover the Pro League for North America, and watching pros play is always very enlightening for even the regular player like myself. So be sure to check that out, as well as the Grand Slam, which is coming in July, a couple weeks from now. I'll be covering that in Sweden. So that's it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content. And if you want to see more of this in the future, just let me know down below. Aside from that, guys, super happy to have you on the PUBG train. Stay on it as long as you can, even if it's overwhelming, frustrating. But at the end of the day, it's going to be very rewarding if you stick with it. Thank you for watching. And until next time, I'll see you out there.